You know, when we think about big scientific breakthroughs, our minds usually jump to the stars of today, right? The ones making all the headlines. But what about the light that showed them the way in the first place? Well, today we're going to uncover the story of a true pioneer, a scientist whose forgotten legacy really did pave the way for the incredible things we're seeing now. So let's start with the here and now. I mean, women in Indian science are making massive global headlines, leading these incredible missions that are pushing the absolute boundaries of what we thought was possible. And their success is, quite rightly, being celebrated everywhere. You've probably heard of Dr. Ritu Karidal Srivastava. She's famously known as the Rocket Woman of India, and for good reason. Her leadership was absolutely critical to the mind-blowing successes of India's missions to Mars and, of course, the Moon with Chandrayaan-3. And she is definitely not alone. Look at this number, 50 plus. That's how many brilliant women scientists and engineers were at the very heart of the Chandrayaan-3 mission. We're talking mission-critical operations, developing autonomous systems, just an unbelievable depth of talent on display for the whole world to see. So all this success brings up a really important question. On whose shoulders are these modern pioneers standing? Well, to answer that, we've got to go back in time, way back, to an era when that path for women in science wasn't just unlit, it was pretty much completely blocked. So let's meet the person at the center of our story, Bibha Chowdhuri, India's very first woman physicist. Her story is just one of this quiet, incredible determination and a brilliance that, for too long, burned really brightly, but mostly in the shadows. And this quote, man, it just nails it. It gets to her essence perfectly. See, she wasn't just a scientist. She was a true trailblazer. She had to carve out a space for herself and for everyone who would come after her in a world that just wasn't ready for her. I mean, just try to imagine it. It's 1913 in Kolkata. The world of physics is a boys' club, period. And society's rules meant women had to fight tooth and nail just to get a higher education. But somehow, through just pure persistence, Bibha gets herself a spot at the prestigious Bose Institute. And even then, her genius was kind of a secret. Her name was, as they say, whispered only in the halls, by the few who really understood how brilliant she was. So what was she actually working on? What was this groundbreaking science? This is where the story gets even more fascinating, because you start to see this huge gap between how important her work was and how little credit she got for it. Just take a second and look at this journey. She's studying under a Nobel laureate, Patrick Blackett, in Manchester. Then she gets handpicked by Homi J. Bhabha, the father of India's nuclear program, to be the first woman on the faculty at TIFR. Then she's working with Vikram Sarabhai, the father of the Indian space program. And maybe the most incredible part, her work got her nominated for a Nobel Prize. So what was this big contribution? It was the discovery of a tiny, fundamental piece of our universe, a subatomic particle called the pi meson. This was world-class, groundbreaking stuff, right at the cutting edge of particle physics. And this slide, this is where you see the profound and, frankly, just the unfairness of it all. On one side, you have these massive achievements, a Nobel nomination from Erwin Schrödinger of all people. And on the other side, a career spent in the shadows, on the edges of acclaim, without a single award during her entire lifetime. She passed away in 1991, and her story was pretty much untold. But some lights are just too bright to stay hidden forever. Long after she was gone, the world finally started to see her legacy, and in the most beautiful, fitting way you could possibly imagine. So here's a little detail you need to know. Her first name, Bibha. In Sanskrit, it literally means a beam of light. Just keep that in your head for a second, because it makes what happens next so incredibly poetic. And here it is. This is where her story gets this amazing, poetic justice. The woman whose name meant beam of light, who spent her entire life studying cosmic rays coming from the heavens, is now, quite literally, a star in those very same heavens, a permanent beacon in the night sky. This amazing cosmic tribute was then followed by official recognition right here on Earth. That star, HD 86081, was officially named Bibha, and soon after, the Indian government established a prestigious professorship in her name, finally cementing her place in the nation's history books. But Bibha Chowdhury's story doesn't really end with just one star. It's about how that single, powerful beam of light went on to inspire an entire constellation. Let's see how that legacy is shining today. And this brings us right back to where we started. The success of Dr. Shrivastava and all those women behind Chandrayaan-3, it didn't just happen out of nowhere. It's the direct result, the fulfillment of the journey that Bibha Chowdhuri started all those years ago, all alone and against every odd. So when it comes right down to it, her solitary struggle, her quiet brilliance, it created a path. Where there was once only a single defiant beam of light fighting through the darkness, there is now a whole constellation of stars leading the way for Indian science. And that kind of leaves us with one final thought, doesn't it? Bibha Chowdhury's incredible story was almost lost to history. So as we celebrate all these brilliant new stars emerging today, it really makes you wonder, whose forgotten light, whose untold story will they help us discover next?